The late 90s, early 2000s teen pop wave saw tons of artists cropping up seemingly out of nowhere to capitalize on the success of acts like the Backstreet Boys, the Spice Girls, and Britney Spears. As time has gone on, many of these acts have fallen into relative obscurity. For every enduring superstar like Christina Aguilera, there were about a dozen other acts that never truly broke through in a huge way. Nobody's Angel fits very neatly into that category. Formed in 1998, the group originally consisted of members Ali Navarro, Stacey Harper, Amy Sue Hardy, and Sarah Smith. The four became friends after seeing each other at auditions, and eventually decided to become a girl group. Soon after this, they signed to the Disney-owned label Hollywood Records, which explains why they were very clearly marketed for a younger demographic. The name Nobody's Angel came from Sarah's love for the show Charlie's Angels, and this was a whole 2 years before the movie adaptation came out. Missed opportunity to have them on that soundtrack. Some other girl group was on that one. I can't recall their name right now. Does anyone remember? The group's first officially released track, Let's Get Together, was featured on the soundtrack for the Lindsay Lohan classic, The Parent Trap. It's an up-tempo, dancey teen pop song that was very indicative of the kind of music they'd continue making. The group would get further exposure from appearing on the popular show Boy Meets World, which is one of the greatest series ever made. I will die on that hill. The finale still makes me bawl uncontrollably. Anyways, the group was in the season 6 episode Road Trip, which saw them playing waitresses at a truck stop diner who dreamed of breaking out and one day making it in the music industry. They even sang a song that would appear on their debut album, called I Can't Help Myself. You know, considering how they were performing at a truck stop, the sound quality was damn good, almost like it was added in post or something. Weirdly, the group's name wasn't even mentioned in the episode, or the credits for that matter. Instead, all the girls' names were listed individually, alongside the illustrious milkshake guy. According to Stacey and Ali, this was a backdoor pilot for the group that was meant to set up a show on ABC that would follow the girls' journey trying to make it on their own. They even had a deal with Michael Jacobs, the creator of Boy Meets World. Unfortunately, due to some behind-the-scenes shenanigans, and their record label not fully wanting to back them due to weak sales, the show never happened. And can I just say, I feel so vindicated by hearing this information, because I always could tell there was more going on with this episode. There was no reason to have a whole girl group performance in the middle of this. I knew it was some sort of marketing tactic. Still, the episode didn't really do a good job of selling them. The girls are severely underwritten, which is fine for the purpose of being one-off characters in the sitcom, but marketing-wise, it doesn't really do much to convince people to want to follow their story. You'd think they'd at least say the name of the group or even have an ad for their music at the end of the episode if they really wanted to push them, but maybe the showrunners were just trying to be subtle and gauge audiences' reactions to the group without explicitly advertising them. The episode really does come across as astroturfing, with Shawn and Corey just being in awe of their talent. I mean, look at their faces, they're practically enchanted. They did put on a good show, don't get me wrong, but there really wasn't much about this appearance that was particularly impressive or all that memorable. They sounded like other groups from the time, looked like other groups, and didn't really have much personality outside of being pretty girls for the boys to crush on and say from their small town truck stop lives. Despite the appearance, the bands didn't really make that much noise by the time their first proper single, If You Wanna Dance, came out in November 1999. It's a cute bubblegum pop song, nothing too remarkable, but fun for what it is, and it does have a pretty good hook that'll get stuck in your head. I also love how since they were with Disney, they couldn't say get your ass out on the floor, so they literally say get your ease out on the floor. I'm not even kidding, listen to it. I'm sure that line was mouse approved. I Just Can't Help Myself was released as a promo single in 2000, about a year after its appearance on Boy Meets World, and was also featured on the Wedding Planner soundtrack the following year. This one is more of a syrupy sweet love ballad, featuring some really pretty harmonies from the girls. Again though, it's not really anything special, sounding like something that could have been off of Mandy Moore's early records, which isn't a diss by the way, so real goes off. There was supposed to be a video for it, but this didn't end up happening, and the song never received the proper single treatment. The group's self-titled debut album came out on February 1st, 2000, and largely followed in the footsteps of the two singles, being a primarily bubblegum teen pop record, with influences from 70s disco. There's some good stuff on here. I really enjoyed the tracks Next Stop Heaven, Ooh La La La, Right There Waiting, and Boom Boom, which actually opens with the sound of fake paparazzi freaking out over seeing the band. It's funny to hear them screaming like this when there's like 8 actual paparazzi photos of them in existence. Irregardless, these tracks are pretty danceable and catchy. Nothing too special, but still a nice slice of early 2000s super girly teen pop, which, hey, is a sound I still haven't grown out of, so at least they have an audience somewhere. There's also a track called Sugar Daddy, which I'm sure would not be mouse approved nowadays. I love how hilariously unsubtle the lyrics are. You're my sugar daddy, 7 days a week. I can't resist ya, you're good enough to eat. You're my sugar daddy, making love so sweet. I can't resist ya, you're good enough to eat. They also chant, go daddy daddy, go daddy daddy go, and if you wanna dance. These girls really like their daddies, and you know what? I could get down with that. The album also has some good R&B infused tracks, like the sultry Cherry Crush and Keep Me Away, both of which kind of sound like Darkchild songs if he actually produced for children. Keep Me Away was actually meant to be a single, but this never happened as the album failed to really catch on with audiences. Nobody's Angel is a good album, but it doesn't really do enough to stand out from other music of the time. The girls didn't really have the boldness or charisma of a group like the Spice Girls, didn't have the powerhouse vocals of Jessica Simpson, and lacked the magnetic performing ability of Britney Spears. The only thing that really separated them, in my opinion, was their heavy inspiration from 70s dance music, with a lot of their songs sampling disco classics, like Kool and the Gang's Spirit of the Boogie, the Jackson 5's Enjoy Yourself, and the Bee Gees' Love You Inside Out. Hell, the last song is a reimagining of the iconic Sister Sledge hit We Are Family. It's interesting to see how heavily the group borrowed from disco's golden era, as that wasn't really something a ton of acts were doing at the time, at least not so overtly. Still, outside of lovers of early 2000s pop, or people who grew up with it, I don't really see this record holding up well with modern audiences, as it is very dated. Although evidently it didn't strike much of a chord with audiences back then either, as it peaked at number 184 on the Billboard 200, and neither singles charted on the Hot 100. The group would go on to open for acts like AJ McLean and Britney Spears on select dates of her Oops, I Did It Again tour. They also appeared in the made-for-TV movie Model Behavior, the first film Justin Timberlake ever starred in. Despite having a bunch of songs from their album on the soundtrack, they only show up at the end during the prom scene, which is one of the most cliched endings I've ever seen to a movie like this. I haven't even watched Model Behavior, but seeing the scene out of context just tells me everything I need to know about it. They ended up making a few more songs, including one with the band Youngstown on the Pokemon 2000 soundtrack. And I don't know what it is, but every time I do a video on obscure early 2000s pop acts, they always seem to appear in a Pokemon soundtrack. When they said Gotta Catch 'Em All, I didn't know they meant D-list pop stars. Their song together is pretty fun though, not really something I'd seek out as I'm not really a Pokemon fan, so the novelty of a song called Pokemon World is pretty much lost on me. Random fun fact, but Allie actually met her husband, Dallas, while recording this song. They're still married to this day too, that's so heartwarming. The group also did a song for the 102 Dalmatians soundtrack called What You Gonna Do With Your Second Chance, and again, it's an upbeat, dancey teen pop moment, another product of its time definitely, but still really good and really fun for what it is. It's too bad it was attached to that movie though. I remember not enjoying that one as a child, but maybe it's not as bad as I remember it. Now, a film that does hold up is The Princess Diaries, which they actually recorded 2 songs for. The first one, called Always Tomorrow, is an energetic dance pop track, and the second one is a cover of Salt and Peppa's Ain't Nothing But a She Thing, featuring Tammy Phoenix and the rapper Lil J, who you might remember playing Raven's boyfriend on That's So Raven. Sometime in 2001, Amy Sue and Stacy both left the group to focus on their own careers, and were replaced by Ty Amber who came from another girl group called Girl, and Jenny Kwan, who you might remember as Suki from Avatar: The Last Airbender. The final officially released track from Nobody's Angel was fittingly titled Movin' On, and was included on a compilation album called United States of Avex Artists. I couldn't find any information about this album online, though it looks like it was just a sampler CD of up-and-coming artists under the Avex record label, which they were a part of? I don't know. I don't know why they were here, or how this happened, but maybe they temporarily signed with the label. Who knows? But the song itself is actually pretty good. It's a bit more mature than their previous tracks, almost having an ambient William Orbit-esque quality to it. It sounds like something that could have been on Mel C's album Northern Star, only a little bit more juvenile. It makes me wonder if they were going to continue in this direction if they kept making music, but the group disbanded in 2002. A second album was planned, but unfortunately got scrapped. Two of the songs, Out of My Life and I'd Like to Be, are actually on Jenny Kwan's website under the demos section. Out of My Life in particular is great. It's still dance pop, but it has more electronic touches and takes itself a little more seriously than their previous works. It reminds me of something that would be on the Spice Girls' third album. It just has that sophisticated, but not too sophisticated, electro dance pop vibe to it. I'd Like to Be is similarly more mature, being an acoustic love ballad that really allows the girls' individual voices to shine. A whole track list is available on Discogs, evidently based off a promo CD from Hollywood Records, but only some of the songs have leaked. There's a video of the girls performing the song Taboo from June 2002, not too long before they'd break up, and honestly, they kind of ate. It's sad this project was scrapped, since it seems like it would have been a mature progression of their sound, but unless someone at Hollywood Records leaks it, it seems unlikely we'll ever get to hear it. Another TV show was even planned with Boy Meets World co-creator April Kelly to tie in with the album, but this obviously didn't come to fruition. According to Ally, because of the decline of pop music in 2002, and due to the show being cancelled, the record label told the girls they wouldn't be able to put in the marketing money behind the group, which led to the girls deciding to just end it altogether. Nowadays, the OG girls are still in touch, and even made a video in 2020 teasing a reunion before the world ended. Stacey said in a 2023 interview that they have tried to get something together, but it never really went anywhere considering their busy schedules and how they live in different areas of the country. They seem to be living relatively normal, low-key lives. Stacey and Amy Sue are teachers, Sarah's a dance coach, and Allie is a children's entertainer under the name Twinkle. She seems lovely, by the way. I could totally understand why she's in children's entertainment. She just gives me that vibe. She's also a PCD stan, and I have to stan someone who loves my dolls. Meanwhile, Ty Amber has essentially gone off the radar, and Jenny continues to do voice acting. It's really sweet to see the OG girls are still friends, or at least friendly with each other. Based on Allie and Stacey's interviews, it seems like they enjoyed their time in the music industry and look back on it fondly, despite not being comfortable with some of the business and behind-the-scenes aspects. It honestly just seems like the group never really took off, so their label simply didn't put the resources into promoting them. I also think both TV shows falling through pretty much sealed their fate. Who knows if either show would have been a hit, but they at least would have given them more exposure, and potentially could have led to more music. I find stories like this to be so fascinating. We're all used to hearing about the big names in music, but groups like this go to show that for every Britney, there's about a dozen or even more small-time artists who never made it big, despite being signed to a label. I'm not gonna say Nobody's Angel made particularly great music, but they did genuinely seem to have fun making it, and you can hear the chemistry they had with each other in their songs. Maybe one day we'll see the Angels get together again, but until then, they'll continue to be an interesting little footnote of early 2000s pop.